Some people say it's the greatest city in the world.
When I walk around New York, there are just so many young people everywhere.
It is not easy for a lot of people to really find community and make friends. No one's really opening their doors to welcome them and to get to know them as people.
And so many of them are struggling just with life and heavy issues and all of the things they have going on.
People are wandering around today not knowing that they need something that is so within their reach.
Everyone's walking out of the church. Everyone's fed up with God and the understanding of who they think He is.
The list that they would run through of like what they thought Christians were: racist, sexist, classist, homophobic. Christianity is actually like a tool of oppression. Your average understanding is like, Jesus is judgmental. But yet the questions that they're asking are getting after like the hard stuff. It's not that they aren't seeking. It's just that what they're seeking for, they don't know can actually be found in Jesus, you know?
So I think this is the greatest need in New York.
When people come to Alpha, there's no agenda. We're just here to love people and know people and then tell them a little about Jesus.
You just create a space and just be there for people without all the glamour, all the setup, just in a very basic, let's have a meal, let's have a conversation.
And we're gonna sit around the tables and we're gonna talk about tough questions, talk about good questions, life questions. We're gonna make friends. We're gonna have great food.
And that's usually where people can experience God in new and different ways.
My name is Seth Bazakis. I'm a pastor at Wellspring along with my wife.
I'm Genevieve, I'm his wife.
Yes, we get to lead together, but with an awesome team, a really awesome team. We do it all together. You know, we are really expectant for the heart of unity. It seems like every time we get together with those in the city that have a shared heart just for others and the lost and for the kingdom, God seems to show up in a greater way. It turns out He really loves unity. So we are gonna get together with as many churches that want to and just launch at the same time.
I belong to Hope Church NYC. We have currently 3 campuses, one on the Upper West Side, one in Midtown, my home church, and then one down in the East Village. My background is I'm a chef, and I've been involved in working for the church for many years, but I always use my cooking and the gifts that God has given me. I love hospitality, so I always hosted dinner parties and basically talked about life. So I did Alpha without knowing doing Alpha. And then my pastor picked up on it and he was like, do you want to check out Alpha? It's my second time leading it. It's like my first time that I'm fully spearheaded.
My name is Ophelia. I came to the US in 2018, and I got to know Alpha back in 2019. Last season was the first time that I was helping Nico with Alpha at my church. It's the first Alpha I'm hosting. I'm curious to see what God brings into my small group or into my Alpha course.
Welcome to Old St. Patrick's Cathedral. This is a 200-year-old church, which is at the center, at the heart of Catholic Church here in New York City. We get to host Alpha here in such an iconic place where it's a mixture of different cultures. So you're sitting smack in the middle of all this cultural tension, and we get to sit at a table in the middle of that. What's really special about this Alpha that we're running, it's a men's group dedicated Alpha. And we've never actually run something like this here in Old St. Pat's, much less here in the city, and just creating a space for people to come over and just have very deep conversations.
Our church uses Alpha not so much as an evangelism program, but sees it in the DNA of how we do everything.
We just started our first Youth Alpha course, and I think this first one was really helping our students get their minds around it. It was new for a lot of them, and I think even just this concept of evangelism and the idea that they have somewhere that they can bring their friends, where it's not completely on their shoulders to like have all the answers or say the right thing. I think it was just all new for our students. I think that for this second round, I just am really hoping and praying that our students just get a spirit of boldness and start to take what they experienced and what they saw and start to just identify people that they want to see come to know Jesus.
So I had an experience with Alpha, but it was kind of abbreviated. It was a shorter time, no Holy Spirit emphasis weekend, and it was probably done more like a Q&A. So for me, it wasn't as interesting as I imagined it would be, and I also didn't think it kind of fit our context. But then I met a man called Seth Bazakis, and that's what drew us in. And so the moment that Seth told us about Unified Alpha, we were like, this is what we need, it's the DNA of our church. So we were down.
This Alpha thing, yeah, it just gives us hope.
We're about 3 weeks away from our first Alpha. And just saying that, I feel the anxiety raising up because we are at the point where we're getting ready to include people into this process. When we were thinking about team development for Alpha, our vision of it was the more diverse we have as a team, the more we can have diverse conversations with other people.
At the moment, several different churches that are running Alpha at the same time. We join resources. We had a training together, so that was part one. And I think this is very helpful, especially if you run Alpha for the first time, is to have the support from those that already have the experience. No, I know I have a lot of people supporting me, but when it comes to like personal confidence, it can be a little bit shaken at the time to be like, how will it work out? How will it look like?
Now that we have students that have been through it, we're thinking through how do we empower them to actually own the space for themselves. So instead of rolling up to a thing that, a bunch of adult leaders are running, how do we empower them to be leading discussion and hosting things and setting up discussion, all of that? I see my role as like creating the space, and then I want our students to be the ones that are owning the discussion.
We always say, like, who would we actually want to go to their party if they threw one? Who would we want to go to their house if they were inviting people over? We really want those people on the Alpha team because people then tend to want to come to something that they're a part of and doing because they carry something. Where it's a little bit unique is it's usually not your evangelists and people who are like fiery evangelists. The worst thing for an Alpha will be that somebody gets preachy, and is teaching. And so like if you're an evangelist, that's all you want to do. And so oftentimes we want our evangelists to be on our prayer team and in the back and interceding and inviters and like carrying the fire, but not necessarily who's on our volunteer team for Alpha, like on the tables.
When I was thinking about my team that's going to host Alpha with me, I'm an extrovert. All 3 other people are introverts. I thought that's a big concern because they're not the kind of people who start a conversation. Like the best way to equip your team is to don't talk too much, just be quiet. That's the best way so that the guests can talk. Then that brings me a lot of relief.
Week 1 is a couple of weeks away. We're super excited and cautiously nervous at the same time. We're leaning into prayer. Next week, we are just going to be spending an hour and a half in just pure praise and worship and just offering up for Alpha, for the community itself.
We are flat out praying for revival, like salvations to come from places we cannot explain. If we can explain it and rationalize it, it's kind of not what I'm praying for.
When you align your heart with His heart, He fills you with compassion and love, and He gives you His eyes to see people the way that He sees them, and you just want to love them, and you want to create a space for them to come, and so that they can experience Jesus for themselves.
And He begins to open the doors that we would never open. It kind of begins and ends in the place of prayer for us.
So we're gonna host our Alpha at a coffee shop because it is not church. We want to have multiple places where people can come and experience who God is. The coffee shop is an easy place for people to just come in and maybe even get to know us without even intentionally knowing we're there. Sometimes the church feels like you have to go inside to see people, but we wanted to go outside. We want to be in places where people wonder why we're there.
So last time we ran Alpha, it was actually in this room, which is a co-working space for our church office. And we did it, and it was just not right for what the students actually, I think, wanted. We were thinking, okay, how do we create a space that they feel like at home? Our hope is to create this environment just in an apartment on the Upper West Side that's just like, come on in, football game on the TV or just whatever, and a space to just belong. And I mean, with Alpha, it's not just like you sit down, boom, you're into video content, discussing the deepest question of life. It's also just a really fun place to be and just creating an environment that other people want to be a part of. That doesn't feel like this massive jump from what their life already looks like. That's kind of what we're going for.
There's a lot of people that are a little uncomfortable stepping into a church space. And so to just have a safe place that is not a church, to someone that doesn't see church as a safe place, hosting Alpha in a restaurant is gonna be so easy for someone to walk through the doors.
We always keep trying to bring it back, like, what would we want with friends? And sometimes with church stuff, we create something that works on paper, but if we're just honest with ourselves, like, dude, would you go to that? And so we're really trying to peel that back. Alpha, I think, really makes that doable. And we try and create something that, like, honestly, we would go to.
My vision with Alpha is to build a community that goes deeper. And I think key for that is to host it in homes with an apartment that just gives a different feel. It brings more intimacy. It's a different ballgame, in my opinion, in this urban setting.
They talked about the difference between invitation and inclusion and saying, come be included in what I'm already doing. And that language just changed it. It's like, we're doing this every Sunday. We're always here and we want you to be a part of it. So once we thought about inclusion, I think it was just easier to think of people we didn't think of before. There wasn't people outside of our lives that we had to invite in, but people who were already there that we just wanted a little bit closer. So the more that we thought about that, we had names of people and the list just began to grow and grow.
So I feel like a lot of our young people, honestly, are just kind of like, oh, I could invite a friend to come eat together and chat at someone's house. Like, to them, they get excited about that. You sort of take the language of like, come to my church event out, and it's more of like, I'd love to come include you in this hang I do at this person's house on a Sunday. That just feels, I think, a little more accessible.
I sent out an email to maybe like 10, 15 people in total. So there's a girl, she goes to my gym. There's another girl, I met her at a picnic at Central Park. She's not a Christian, so she's open to topics like meaning of life, what are some of the big questions, work ethics, what makes us happy, etc. So I'm really glad people are open to the opportunity of Alpha, but honestly, so still not sure what will eventually happen.
I think the biggest natural fear about running something like Alpha, and regardless of your context, is immediately you're thinking no one's going to show up. And you've put in all this work and prepare, and then no one shows up.
The tendency of Alpha is that first night a lot of people show up, and then it's like so slowly people like kind of drop out. They don't prioritize it anymore.
I, for so many years, like wanted to just chase like numbers and the size and scope of something to like be impressive for the kingdom and all this. And I've been a part of things that are really, really big and been a part of things that are really, really small. You can't say that, oh, big means greater impact, you know? And I think for me, it's interesting over the course of these years, I've actually seen that sometimes big doesn't lead to like deep in ways that sometimes like God wants to do deep work in few. And so like, who am I to almost like bring that agenda over what needs to happen?
I sent out an RSVP, but not a lot of people RSVP'd. Only one friend did, and I sent her a text saying that if no one showed up, probably it will just like be two of us with like a table of food. I'm not sure how things will turn out. So I guess that's a leap of faith for me.
Tonight is our very first Alpha, and we are so excited, but also a little nervous. And to be honest, right before coming here, I got a text saying that someone could not come. And that was a bummer at first, and I felt that kind of hit my heart, like, oh no, God, did we do something wrong? Is this just something that happens? And then there were two things that really calmed me down. And the first thing was the prayer that we had this morning. Kamitra and I went over the Brooklyn Bridge and we prayed. It just felt like even though we did not have Alpha yet, we still had this encounter with people through prayer. And I think the second thing that helped was just the Alpha training. They told us this is your first time, so relax and know that it will not happen exactly the way that you planned.
Well, this is my apartment, and we are on the Upper West Side. We just moved into this spot like a couple weeks ago, so it's kind of a run and gun situation.
I just did a quick Gristedes run, got some Sour Patch Kids, Lifesaver gummies, chips and salsa. I'm feeling good. We got to have, in our normal, like, regular youth nights, a couple of weeks of, like, helping the students wrap their minds around Alpha. So I'm hoping that that means that they'll invite friends and that we'll have people come join us who maybe don't know Jesus.
So I ran into this girl on the subway, and we just started chatting. And she saw my groceries, and she's asking me, what are you making tonight? There are people I met at my gym, and people I met at Central Park. Just in general, people may have an interest in having like faith-based conversation. I'm not sure if I'll be finished cooking on time. This is the magic about Alpha, because when we watched the video together, it actually stirred up a lot of opportunity for conversation. So I'm not particularly like scared about like if it will be like a cold, dry conversation, but rather do people enjoy the atmosphere? Do they enjoy like coming to my place?
I woke up this morning and there was like a dozen new signups just from when we went to bed last night. And so I was like, we need to add at least another table or two. We were planning for around 30 and now we're expecting around 50 or more, which is great. And we were, praying for 25. So we're really in a wonderful spot.
So tonight is basically a big night because starts a new season of Alpha. So we're making some pizzas. We're offering some pizza, salad, and we hope that people can feel comfortable here. And it's a new experience. It's a beautiful experience.
What's helped me so much in preparing to launch Alpha is just to make it simple. Having conversations is meant to be simple. Hosting people is meant to be simple. It's something we naturally do in so many other contexts.
I just want people to feel welcomed. I want people to feel comfortable. Come and just feel the love and that's in that room. We're gonna be good. It's gonna be a good first day in Alpha.
We're about an hour away. So right now I'm kind of glued to my phone. I'm making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to.
So we didn't really get much response to registration, which makes me think like, not really sure. Who's about to walk through the door? What's about to happen?
We've got students showing up in 7 minutes.
I'm not sure if things will happen like in my group, but I want to make sure that I have the capacity to get to know people and their stories.
This week is night one. Super excited, lots of emotion and feeling a lot of things.
People are starting to arrive, and we're just going to see what God is going to do.